Welcome to live stream with the founder of the Enneagram School of Awakening, Lissa Friedman. Today we want to ask a few questions about the school, including the connection between shadow work and awakening, and your upcoming retreat in October. We will also talk about and clarify a few things about your spiritual story and your emerging work with light beings.
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay. So, this Sunday morning, tomorrow,
Yes.
you will be holding a meetup gathering on awakening and shadow work. You recently decided to combine the two instead of keeping them separate. So can you tell us a little bit about the connection between shadow work and awakening?
Sure. And it actually happened really organically because the last meeting that I had was on awakening, and I wound up talking about shadow work and awakening because I couldn't talk about one without the other. So to me, we can look at a kind of progression that the work with the Enneagram takes us through, which starts with recognizing that we actually have a pattern, to working through the pattern, to going beyond the pattern, to recognizing our essential nature, our divine nature, and even going way beyond that. And as we go, we're uncovering, we're releasing patterns, we're releasing old conditioning, and we're becoming aware of shadows, things that we never knew about ourselves. We're becoming aware of things that lurk in our backgrounds that we're not so conscious of. And as we peel away those layers, we're more awake, we're more present, we're more conscious. So they go together. That's why they're going together now.
Nice. And so when will these meetup groups be held?
Yes. Okay. So the second and fourth Sundays of the month from 10 to 12.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So regarding your spiritual story and your emerging work, we've had a few people be a bit surprised about the group of light beings that you've been connecting with.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about them and their other dimensional nature?
Sure. So let me just start with the other dimensional nature. I see them as light forms. I don't see bodies. I don't recognize them as people that I've known or other humans that I've known in this life or any other life. So I see them as life forms, and I feel their energy, their frequency, and they are sending this frequency through me. They're from another dimension, but I am from this dimension. So I think that people have been a little bit confused about that, but I feel like I have a connection to them and they are in another dimension. That's the only way I can explain it, because I don't see them here, but I do see their light forms, and their communication comes from someplace other than right here, but I do receive communication through them.
Okay, and so what was it, like, was there a certain practice that you were doing or a certain kind of work that you were doing that started to illuminate their presence in your life, or?
That's a good question, and some of it, I think a lot of that is in my story, but I'm sure to clarify, when I was a child, they visited me when I would be going to sleep at night, and I knew that I wasn't asleep. I was perfectly awake, and I would feel their bodies sit on my bed, and I could feel the frequency in the room, the energy in the room, the kind of quality of the air in the room change. And then they would talk to me, and that happened for years. I reconnected with them unintentionally when I was doing a past life regression with a woman who was doing this work with me, and they showed up in an experience in my mother's womb, and I felt that energy. I felt exactly the presence that I felt when I was a kid. So that happened. Once that happened, I didn't lose contact with them, but it was still like in the background. It was a little bit vague, and every now and then it would show up, and then last October thought, it's time. And I knew that it meant it was time to focus on awakening more. I had had several awakenings through my life that would kind of, the result of them would come and go. So then it was time to focus. I didn't know how to focus on it. I was already meditating and doing my own work to clarify my consciousness. So I thought, I'll ask my group. I would call them my group. I'll ask my group for help. And they started helping me. They started showing up and sending this frequency through me, and it would shift my perception, and everything would change. How I felt inside my body changed, the energy in my body changed, the energy around me would change, and slowly they started saying, now you need to share this. So I started this Monday night group, and at first I was kind of shy, I guess you'd call it, to say what was going on, and the frequency in the room would change. And I might say, has anybody noticed that the energy has changed? And people would say, yeah, we noticed the energy has changed. And then I began to say, well, I'm connected to this group of light beings, and as soon as I start talking about them, which I'm feeling this right now actually, as soon as I start talking about them, the energy seems to change. And so that comes out a lot in the Monday night group. And what I've understood from them now is that that frequency coming through me is to help me and to help other people make a shift to a higher vibration frequency, to live from there.
So what will that look like? My question is the purpose of it for you to be a channel for that energy to others so that you become a conduit for their frequency to elevate, or is it also that you are here to help others connect to these beings and have their own personal connection?
So I think it's that, and all of that and something else.
Okay.
So I think that it's for me to channel that frequency so that it helps other people shift. And maybe they connect to this group, but they may connect to their own group. And actually what they've told me is that what they're hoping is that other people connect to their groups, and that they begin to share with other people, and the frequency flows through them towards others, and there's this kind of rippling, spiraling effect that reaches more and more and more and more people.
So what you're saying is that your sense is that everybody has a group of light beings that they can connect to. It's not necessarily going to be the same group, kind of along the lines of like people who feel like they have spirit guides.
Yes, kind of like
and
that.
And is it different than spirit guides, or?
I don't think so. I'm for me, they've just been light beings that I call my group.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that they're guiding me, so
mm-hmm.
I could say, I could have called them spirit guides, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
mm-hmm.
that's not what I called them. I tend to believe, but I don't know for sure, that everybody has a group of beings that is guiding them. That may or may not be true, because I don't know. But I think that may be true. And what they're kind of communicating through me is that this frequency can help people shift and then connect to their own guidance.
And what would, if there's someone listening who is interested in having these experiences that you're having, would you have any guidance for them as to like first steps if this is all very new? Or?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I would actually suggest that they go inside and get quiet and ask.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask,
mm-hmm.
like, are there any beings that are around me that might help me?
Mm-hmm.
And then really listen and open up. Like, just when we receive at first, we may not recognize what we're receiving. You may just notice, oh, I feel a little more peaceful or quiet, or I'm feeling heartful, or maybe even sad, maybe joyous. I don't know, but some sort of subtle shift. At first, we may not notice or be able to recognize what this is. But I would just say, go inside, get quiet, and ask.
And when you mentioned a few moments ago that use the phrase that they speak to me or they're telling me, what's that like when they tell you things? It's just for people who might want to have a sense of whether they're being guided and what that
another great question.
is like.
Because it's not in words. I don't hear words. I feel an energetic shift. I feel like some knowing that is an energy comes through me, and I'm learning to trust it. It's not something that I knew before, so we're sending a frequency through you that will help other people in transition. I didn't know that. It wouldn't have been something that would have come to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
As an example, and I don't know if it's a great example, but the other night on Monday nights, the first and the third Monday nights, I have this group. People come and the light beings show up, and we do a meditation, sound meditation, and the energy shows up, and there's a shift. And somebody wanted to ask the question at the end, and he said, have these beings been interceding in what's been going on the planet already? And I started answering from myself, from Lissa, and I said, oh, I don't know. And he sort of looked at me like, I'm not really asking you. And I thought, oh, right. And I got quiet, and I felt the answer is yes. It felt yes, not I don't know. So, because I felt their energy, and their energy was somehow saying yes. So it's really hard, people have to have some trust and be open to this possibility.
Nice. So it sounds like it's the frequency that they share with you and through you that has led you to host this new this retreat coming up, the Resonance Retreat.
Yes.
Is that the focus of the retreat?
That is the focus of the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
What occurred to me, also in connection with them, is that if we sit in this frequency for an extended period of time, that it might make the shift more lasting and something that people can carry with them, and maybe they will connect to their guides or their group or their beings, or have a stronger connection to these beings, but I wanted to give people more time to sit in this frequency and live in this frequency, eat meals in this frequency, meditate in this frequency, live with each other for a couple of days in this frequency, and see if it has a deeper effect.
And so during the retreat, will you have some of the practices that kind of opened you up to this experience, such as the meditations that you were doing, or some of the regressions or trance work?
That's great question. Yes, there'll be a singing bowl meditation, because I actually think that this shift started happening for me when I started getting these singing bowls. And there was a point several months ago where I knew I needed to get the third eye singing bowl, and did, and started playing with it, and and slowly this started happening. So I think that there might be a connection, and there's a way of using these singing bowls that takes us out of time, and coming out of time is a real major component to awakening and to connecting to these beings. So yes, there'll be singing bowl meditation. There will be some hand drum music, music, and I think can help people shift. Somebody else will be doing some yoga. I think movement, it's not necessarily what I was doing, but I think movement is a really important thing. And I will be doing a trance afternoon, really focused on shifting out of time into a higher frequency and seeing where people connect to. So, yes, all of that.
Great. And so just remind folks how we can learn more about the retreat and register.
So there is a website specifically for the retreat, which is Resonance 2019. It is on the website Enneagram School of Awakening, but you can go directly to Resonance 2019 for information about the retreat.
Okay, great. Anything else you want to
I think
touch on?
I think that's great.
All right.
Thank
Thanks.
you.